Carol.
Good morning, Nat.
Good morning. My name is John Von Paris, and I'm the chairman of the MDTA Finance and Administration Committee, and I will be conducting today's meeting. Today is Thursday, April 9th, 2026, and I hereby call the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order at 9 a.m. In accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the MDTA Finance and Administration Committee webpage. As a reminder, all members of the committee will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. To minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line please mute your phones. Anyone who is presenting or answering a question, please turn your video and audio on when speaking. When you're done, please turn your video off and put your audio back on mute. There are no members of the public, no elected officials, and no media that have pre-registered to comment at today's meeting. This time we will move on to agenda number 1, approval of the March 12th open meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Member Carroll.
Second.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Thank you, Member Rosen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Move on to agenda item number 2, contract number 3042, one call upgrade and replacement of metal traffic barriers and attenuators. And I guess the last time I heard that was about that word is about 3 years ago, but I did a little research. Now I understand these are very important items, of course, and they're barriers and they save lives and infrastructure and everything else. So I guess Tony Zhang is here to, we'll hear from him about this item. So good morning, Mr. Zhang. How are you?
Good. How about you? Yeah, let me hear.
Thank you.
It's right now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'll turn on my camera. Can you see me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
We
It's good.
can see you. Yeah.
You can see me, huh? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Just good morning. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tony Zhang from MDTA OEC Engineering. Today I represent the contract number, which is MR. Give me a second. Today I present the contract number MR 30420000, which is on-call upgrade and replace metal barriers and attenuators. This contract is to upgrade, replace, and maintain the traffic barrier WB and attenuators on an as-needed basis. The work is driven by damage caused by traffic and a need to upgrade the outdated barrier system. The work on this contract will be performed as on-call task assignment, directed by the MDTA engineering throughout all the MDTA facilities. This contract is being procured as no-bid procurement of construction service. The engineering cost estimate for this contract is $5 million, which is include $0.45 million for miscellaneous repairs. The contract has been advertised on December 10th, 2025. The initial bid date was February 18, 2026, but was removed to March 4th, 2026, because the procurement noted that only one bid was received just a few minutes prior to the latent date on February 18th, 2026. In order to promote the competition, procurement postponed the latent date to March 4th, 2026, and contacted multiple vendors to encourage additional participation. Procurement subsequently received low bid response from 5 vendors who indicate that they either operate outside of the geographic area or they do not provide this service, which is requested in this solicitation. So no additional bids was received. So, and the bid opening date on March 4th, a single bid was recorded from LS Lee in the amount of $5.6 million. We are recommending award of the contract to LS Lee. LS Lee's bid price was 9.63% above the engineering estimate. And this is no bid protest or rejection. Another thing, the MB goal for this contract is 5% with a no sub goal and no VSB goal. LSD has submitted an MB plan of 5% overall goal. LSD has several similar contracts with the MDTA and successfully complete those contracts with very positive references. We also did reference check with the SHA and result in a positive opinion about the LSD. The NTP for this anticipated is in June 2026, and the contract duration is still 3 years, which is 1,095 days. Based on this, we are recommend approval from the Finance Committee to present this contract to the full MDTA board in anticipation of approval for this contract award. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from any of the members? Member Artinger.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation and the history of the bid. I'm assuming that in prior years, we have solicited this same type of contract. Was this an issue in prior years that we were limited to just one bid, or did something change?
It's not changed. The contract is a 3 years contract, and also after the existing 3 years contract is already expire, we'll have continue to have another like a current this contract is still 3 years contract.
So 3 years ago, when we
yes.
what happened then?
Still have the same thing. We have 3 years ago. We still have this contract. It's called 3035 MR 3035, and the same title and the same scope of work to do for a guardrail replacement and upgrade for all MDTA facility. Since the contract will be expired, very soon we'll have another. We have a new on-call contract.
Okay. I guess my question is, 3 years ago, did we have the same issue as to getting bids?
Yes, I get same. Yes, we still have a single bid. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just
yes.
an ongoing issue.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Artinger. I don't see any other questions. I do have a couple of questions. This is exclusively, these items are exclusively in this maintenance, exclusively for MDTA. Have we talked to any other MDOT operations? I know we have State Highway. Are we able to glean anything in terms of any other vendors that might be able to bid on this project? I mean, I know right now we are in a situation, but going forward, I guess personally, I guess I'm more comfortable when there are bids out there. So I think it's, I know we've tried, but maybe there's some other best practices that we can use or find or whatever out there in the industry or whatever. But I would prefer to have more competitive environment and across the board, not just on this one. But I think, Bruce, you're there. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you have any comments, Bruce? Or Jeff? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure Jeff can provide more information. Yes, I think procurement from just make a more effort to have a more multiple bidders. Yeah, right, Jeff. Would you please?
Yeah, I don't think effort is the issue here. My team direct solicits. We put it out on the Emma website. I think partnering with another mode, I think would have actually a negative effect. It would increase the size of the work, which would limit it even further. The only consideration is just the scope of the contract. Sometimes you can look at a project and break it up into regions. That way, smaller firms can respond, but then we have to then weigh the option of managing multiple contracts versus one contract that can meet our emergency response needs statewide. So I will definitely take your thoughts into consideration. We do prefer competition as well. That's one of our driving forces in procurement. But MDTA does have unique needs, and we are spread out. So this is a conversation I think that happens on multiple maintenance type contracts that you think would appeal to smaller firms, but we also need the responsiveness that we have in the scope of work in order to be effective and to keep our roads safe. So if Jim was here, he could expand on it. I'm kind of borrowing some of the things he's told me in the past or he said in the past. But we will look at options on the next round to see if anyone's doing anything they find successful.
Okay. The address of this company, the reason I say that, I did a little search on it, which I do typically on the business entities search under the state of Maryland. There's two entities. There's one out of Pennsylvania. Is this the one out of Pennsylvania or is this the one out of Maryland?
That is an excellent question. I have them as Ellerslie Incorporated, and I do know they have a Maryland office, so it is perhaps registered for their local office. But if you give me a moment, I can let you know. Give me 1 second. There.
And if you need more time or something, you can get back to us on that. But I want to make
Yeah,
sure
I'm looking at the package that was prepared for the finance committee, so I'm trying not to dig into the contract file. I can get back to you. I do not have it pulled up. If you don't mind, I could pull it up within the next minute or so.
That's fine. I think it's important. The one, yeah, okay. I'll comment after that real quick.
Okay, York, PA.
Okay. If you
Yeah.
take a look at, the Maryland, I guess, business entity search, the one in York, PA is, the one in Maryland is in good standing, but the one in York, PA is not in good standing with the state of Maryland. So that's important to check.
That is very important. So one of the things one of the things our team does as we get closer to award is we will verify obviously the standing, and they're generally when we do find one that's not in good standing, it's generally maybe a late tax issue, or sometimes it's an easy pass bill that we'll make sure they clear it before we award. So I'll make a note of this right now.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
yeah.
My procurement officer may be aware of this. He's actually at a doctor's appointment today. He let me know ahead of time he wasn't going to be available.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that to, I just did the research, so I'm not trying
I
to
appreciate that. No, I know that.
surprise
I know you've
anybody.
done
It's
that.
just that
Yeah.
if it's the one in Pennsylvania, they're not in good standing with the state of Maryland. So technically that that should not be approved, I believe, unless it's straightened out.
Yeah. So no, it's I think what we would be asking for is contingent approval. I don't know if we consider contingent approval at finance, but I know at the at the authority board, we would be seeking contingent approval unless we had the signed contract, and we wouldn't have the signed contract until any outstanding debts had been paid up.
Well, I guess we would not approve it here. It would be contingent on getting that resolved, right? Is that,
I believe that you could. I mean, I believe you can make that motion. I don't know if there's anything barring that. But I can have someone get back to this committee, or I could
Jeff,
update
I
you
think
at the
that I think
authority.
that's we Jeff, I think we've done that in the past. If the committee feels comfortable approving it contingent upon, clarification that they're in good standing or notification that they're good standing.
Yes, we can
Okay,
get
well-
back to you all.
okay, Jeff, I appreciate that. We will then, is there a motion to approve this item based on a contingency, and that is that to management's satisfaction, I get that this issue is resolved, and we have full, I guess Bruce will acknowledge that, and we'll get back to us on that. Is that okay? Something along those lines. It's kind of, is there a motion to provide
So-
contingent
So
approval?
move for the contingent approval.
Okay, thank you,
Member
Member
Rosen.
Rosen. And
Member
second,
Arndinger, I'll second.
okay, very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for Jeff, for your time, and also
Thank
Mr.
you so
Thank,
much.
thank you, and Bruce. So we'll move on. Sorry it took a little longer than we anticipated on this item. We'll move on to, this is the last approval item. We will move on to item number 3, an update financing resolution 2502. Alan Garmin is here to discuss that with us. Morning, Alan.
Morning, thank you. We wanted to just provide an update on the bond financing that was approved through a board resolution back in December. Since the resolution was approved, we've been developing a preliminary official statement with our bond counsel. We've also developed a supplemental trust agreement, and we've engaged the rating agencies, and they're essentially awaiting our final structure to provide the credit ratings. And we would obtain those, at least a couple of weeks before advertising the sale. And the preliminary official statement essentially should be on the street for about 10 days before the sale date. That resolution in December authorized $600 million bond issuance, and that was to finance a portion of the capital projects in calendar 2026. And it was specifically, we were thinking was going to be utilized purely for the FSK project. When we were looking at the financing, and as the time has been moving forward, We also recognize there was a second financing needed likely in calendar 2026, and that was for the other portions of the capital program. And so as those two financings have moved closer together, it may make sense to combine the financings into one bond issue, essentially with two different series. And the rationale for combining them is to potentially save some costs of issuance. In terms of the advantages and that cost of issuance savings is that some of the costs of the financing are scaled to the financing. So the more you issue, the more you pay in terms of underwriting costs, and the credit rating fees are scaled to the size. However, some of the other fees in terms of the legal document preparation, they can be saved essentially by doing one official statement instead of two, and one supplemental trust at the same time when you're engaging bond counsel and municipal advisors. If we combine these two financings, we would still keep it within the 600 million that was approved. And it just doesn't necessarily commit us to a second financing in calendar 26. That would be, essentially informed by the capital spending speed throughout the year. In terms of the structure, we had discussed in December that the Key Bridge financing was to be structured as an interest-only term bond. We were expecting to have several bond financings potentially for the Key Bridge, as we have to essentially interim finance all the construction costs. So those financings would be structured as interest only, with the maturities coinciding with essentially the slowdown in the project. And once the spending peaks, the federal reimbursements coming in should be sufficient to pay down the principal. And we wanted to provide some flexibility and have those toward the end of the project. The other financing need that we have in our financial forecast, it's modeled at approximately 250 million. So we think that we'll structure essentially a Series A for the FSK of perhaps 400 million, and the other approximately 200 million could be a Series B. Those Series B bonds would be our normal 30-year structure of amortizing debt for the rest of the capital program. A couple of points about increasing financial flexibility. I'd put that as an advantage. When we issue bonds for the rest of the capital program, what happens is the bond proceeds come in to the MDTA and they sit in a separate trust account, and we would essentially spend those monies down. The net operating revenues that normally flow to our capital account will start to build back up, and that provides the financial flexibility so that if the FSK spending is a little faster than expected, we can utilize some of the capital account before federal reimbursements. If the other portions of the capital program have a greater spending need, then we can use those capital monies there. And so by structuring these two series together, we can rebuild that capital account a bit, and that helps to provide that financial flexibility, and where we are essentially trying to keep the financing separate, but we'll have the flexibility to use the capital account for either project. And so that's what we're thinking currently. In terms of timing, we think perhaps in the next 60 to 90 days, we would accomplish the sale. And as we near our fiscal year end, we're constantly looking at the capital spending speed and the overall structure, and looking toward an updated financial forecast and incorporating an updated CTP. So those are all elements that we're looking at and trying to right size the bond issuance. The other bullet that I put in there was about lower interest costs, and right sizing the financing helps with carrying costs. When you finance, you're borrowing at tax exempt financing rate, and then those proceeds come into our internal accounts. We have the opportunity to invest those monies, but they're being invested essentially at short-term rates, and we're borrowing at long-term rates. So that represents our carrying cost, and we're trying to minimize that. So that's, again, trying to right size the financing and combine the two could help with, minimizing our costs of issuance. The resolutions always provide a few limiting provisions. So the resolution approved in December limited the par to the 600 million. We still believe that's adequate for our near-term financing needs, and the bond sale must occur before December of this calendar year. And the management is also required to come back to the board and report on the sale results immediately following the sale. So that would be the first board meeting after the sale. So I wanted to open it up to any questions.
Let's see, Member Rosen.
Thank you. Thanks for the explanation, Alan. So just to be clear, so we're approving for 2 series, but there's a chance that the second series is we don't move forward with that. And is that accurate?
Yes, so that in our financial forecast that was approved by the board in November, it modeled an approximately $600 million need in fiscal 26. And then there's another $250 million modeled for fiscal 27. So that's basically, those two are within calendar 26. And so, as we look closer at the capital spending, the size and the timing of those is very much informed by capital spending that's coming in, and the use of the insurance proceeds. And as we spend down our cash balances, we're also looking at net operating revenues as they flow to capital. So all of those elements help us time those financings. So our original plan was to do just the one $600 million financing for FSK, but as we see that $250 million financing need get closer to this financing need, that was the rationale for combining them. We may still need another financing in calendar 26, and if that's the case, it would probably also be 2 series of bonds where a portion is dedicated to FSK and the other portion would be the rest of the capital program. Again, it's like there's some advantages in maybe doing multiple financings because they're informed by your actual needs and the spending on all the projects and the proportion of those spendings. But if we don't need the second financing, then we could have, substantial interest cost savings and also savings in the cost of issuance by just doing one official statement and one
Right.
sale.
And then if that second financing, if we don't need it, it just basically it goes away. The approval, what we've approved is no longer valid at that point, or would you ask for an extension of the bond sale date, the note later then?
Yeah, if I understand your question, so the board approved a financial forecast that shows financing needs,
Right.
but management doesn't have delegated authority until the board officially approves through resolution that financing ability. So when the board approved the resolution at the end of last calendar year, that delegated authority to essentially, the executive director and management to conduct that financing. So management has that delegated authority. We can issue it in 1 or 2 series as long as we remain under those limiting provisions of the 600 million and the deadline. So we have some flexibility on structuring. It's just we wanted to come back and update you on the timing and the progress, and also our thinking about the advantages of making it 2 series rather than 1.
Okay. Right, and we already approved the December 31st, 26 date. I guess where I was headed with my question is do we think for additional flexibility that we would potentially want to move that date even further while still allowing us to accomplish what we're accomplishing here with additional flexibility? And yeah, I'm just throwing out, and I don't know if that date is a good date, and given so many moving parts, and whether we need some more time to figure that out.
Yeah, I think we definitely will need the funding in the next perhaps 90 days. So the December 31st deadline is certainly plenty of time for us because the sale will likely occur in April, May, as late as June. So it'll be well in advance of the deadline. And then should the MDTA need additional financings in calendar 26, we must return to the full board under a separate resolution to get that authority. So we would come back to the board at that time with a new financing plan and seek delegated authority for second financing.
For that second series underneath this vehicle.
Right, that's
Right.
correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rosen. Any other questions or comments? Alan, do you have anything else to add at this point?
That was all. Thank you. It was just purely an update on our progress, and we'll be back, in the next few months after the bond sale to provide an update on the results.
Thank you very much for the update. We will move on to item number 4, another update on tolling. This will be tolling contracts and agreements, and Richard is here to present.
Yes.
Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Richard Jaramillo, Chief Operating Officer. The purpose of this update today is to provide the Finance and Administration Committee with an update on electronic toll collection contracts that we currently have, as well as the status of the out-of-state debt collection RFP that we were working on, as well as the status of the out-of-state toll enforcement reciprocity that we are working on as well. So the material has been provided and should be included within your packet. And I will be essentially referring and starting with page 2 of that section. So the status of the contracts for the electronic toll collection, we have 2. We have CAPTCH and Transcore. CAPTCH essentially is the roadside, which essentially captures the transactions on the Easy Pass side, and then Transcore handles the back office side, which is the actual completion and processing of those transactions. So both CAPTCH and Transcore contract start dates were February of 2018. Both of those contracts will end in February of 2028, and both of those contracts have two-year renewal options if we decide to exercise those options. One of the things that we really have moved towards is really trying to make sure that partnership and partnering is critical between MDTA, CAPTCH, and Transcore. We have annual partnership meetings that are held with both vendors. We additionally have weekly and monthly progress meetings that are held between the vendors as well. Now, as part of those contracts, both CAPTCH and Transcore, there are KPIs or key performance indicators, which are called out and have been laid out as part of that contract. These KPIs are set at a high level to be able to provide MDTA insight as to how the vendor is performing as part of that contract. As you may see on page 2, I've got a table that essentially shows the KPIs for CAPTCH, our front office, or roadside, and it's listed with 20 of the KPIs. Again, these KPIs are at a high level to give our program manager and staff insight into how they are performing. As you can see, each KPI has a description of what we're looking for. As an example, the cumulative monthly downtime. So we keep track of that. That is reported out on a monthly basis. Some of them are reported out on an annual basis, such as number 10, toll system synchronization. So that's how that is laid out. With regards to the last column, it refers to missed KPIs within the last 6 months. So as an example, for CAPS under number 1, cumulative monthly downtime that's reported out monthly, they since it's indicated as none, they have not missed that KPI in the last 6 months. However, if you look at number 7, such as trip processing, which is reported out on a monthly basis, it's got 1 out of 6, which means that out of the 6 months, 1 month, they missed that KPI. And so you can see as you go down the table, number 14 KPI identifies vehicle classification accuracy that's reported on an annual basis, and they've missed 6 out of the 6. So want to point out that the KPIs are monitored and tracked on a monthly basis. And so all the KPIs are invoiced out monthly. And whenever we have to de-incentivize one of the due to one of the KPIs being missed, then we do that on a monthly basis as we're processing that invoice. So that's the KPIs, the 20 KPIs that we have for CAPS. And I'm going to move on to Transcore, but before I do, I just want to see if you have any questions with regards to the KPIs on CAPS.
We have Member Ardinger, please.
Yes, so just want to clearly understand. So number 14, of course, jumps out because you missed 6 out of 6.
Mhm.
So can you give us a little bit more detail as to the steps that are taken and the response that you get from CAPS in regards to addressing something like that?
Yes, Member Ardinger, that it's a good question. So once a KPI is missed, we will initially, as we're going through the invoices and track that, we will connect with CAPS and talk to the vendor, of course, as to this KPI was missed. We want to understand why it was missed. Of course, we work with them to try and get them to correct that KPI. And when and if they cannot correct that KPI, then we start to then de-incentivize them with regards to missing that. Now, I think your question is more towards how do we work through these issues? Is that correct?
That is correct. And specifically, I guess I'd like to know the history of CAPS fixing the problem. Has it worked?
Okay. Yeah. So, again, a lot of these, there's various reasons for, for missing a KPI, right? I mean, as an example, when if we look at, let me see, let me pull up one here. Maybe the reporting accuracy. So maybe it wasn't 100% error free. So what we'll do is we'll work with them to identify which ones were not actually reported accurately. We'll work with them to get that reported accurately. If they get back to us and are able to correct that, then we move forward and don't de-incentivize. However, if they don't, then we of course de-incentivize them. Now, we track this as we go through, and these KPIs that are de-incentivized, at some point, if one of these moves into a larger claim where they're not completing their portion of this, then we start to have further discussions with the vendor with regards to performance. Now, we haven't had issues with CAPS that we've had to move through forward that didn't create any problem for us. So they've at some point come back and been able to meet that KPI.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Ardinger. Member Rosen, do you have a question?
No, Cindy covered it. Member Ardinger covered it. So thank you.
Okay. Member Carroll, do you have any questions? Okay. I do do we have a cumulative annual or look at this? I mean, we're looking at the monthly, but do you have the data also for how they're doing on a year-to-date basis? Do we have that? Are we collecting that, Richard?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we are. We're collecting that. We have a running total of these each month, and we keep that on an annual basis. So we've got a record of how many of those KPIs throughout the year have been met and how many have not.
Okay, and I guess some things are more severe, certainly more severe than others in these categories, right? I mean, if we're missing revenue, and if this was the impact to our revenue is, for example, or the customer service.
Yeah, there's actually two, right? I mean, with the areas we really focus on is, of course, the customer service, and then, of course, the revenue. And so a lot of, both of those are centered around performance, right? So we definitely track those, we definitely monitor those, and we definitely, when needed, pursue those further with the vendor, whether that's through further discussions and or issuance of some kind of a letter or request to the vendor to meet these KPIs.
If I don't know, somewhere down the line, it'd be interesting to see what the impact from a financial standpoint would be on some of these. Like if not just with any vendor in this, we have two vendors here we're talking about, but I mean, one here with cash here, but just it would be interesting to see what that translates into in terms of the impact to us. So want to miss. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you for answering the questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if we go to page 3 and we'll be looking at the KPIs for Transcore, and I'll get a little more into your question, Mr. Chair, with regards to how some of this really is not necessarily the vendor's problem, right? So as we see on page 3, these are the KPIs for Transcore. There are 21, and again, they're laid out the same way, right? The description, the reporting, and then how many were missed. So I'm going to point you to number 7, average call wait time, reported out monthly. There were 2 out of the 6 months that were missed. Okay, now remembering all the smishing and phishing and everything that's going on with some of the calls that are, and it's not just in tolls, right? It's all over. It impacted the industry as a whole, and in this case, impacted the actual KPI for the wait time. So, some factors of the vendors missing the KPIs are outside of their control. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's some of these that may impact customer service and or revenue, some could be outside the vendor's control. So as listed, the Transcore has, again, the 21, and it's laid out the same way. But I just want to say that the KPIs for both of the contracts are based on requirements that we have, that we lay out, as well as industry standards that are set forth, within those contracts. So I don't have much more than that. I will tell you that we do track, as was asked earlier, we do track and document, the processes, and when necessary, we work with the vendor, and if the vendor is unable to meet the performance called out in the contract or the KPI, enforcement compliance is considered. Any questions on KPIs?
Member Carroll.
When you say considered, does that mean there is no specific action or documented measure that would take place should those KPIs not be met? So are there incentives or penalties tied to those KPIs not being met?
Yes, remember there's a process in which, again, we work with them and allow them time to correct them. If they don't, then we actually de-incentivize them for that KPI be missed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Member Hardinger.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that update. And just looking at the missed KPIs for Transcore, it does appear that a lot of this is tying into their employee turnover, wait time, and so forth. Just looking to the future, is this an industry that AI will help improve that in any way? And if so, is it something we can start kind of looking towards too at this point?
Yes, very good question, Member Ardinger, and the answer to your question is yes. The answer to your question is that we are currently looking at some of those technologies and uses for those technologies. The AI will help. AI is out there now helping in the industry with regards to call centers, not just tolling, but all call centers. Additionally, we're looking at what technologies are out there to be able to help with those employee shortages, as an example.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to
You're on mute.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Just to add to what Member Ardinger said, we made a concession, I believe, to Transcore to extend their the turnover period. Didn't we do that?
Yes, we
so
did.
To help them, but it looks like is this measurement? This is after we already extended that, so doesn't seem to be. I don't know, just on this one, that's why cumulative might help us, but just doesn't seem like that's helping them. I don't know. I would think it would be not an issue. I mean, or much lower than that. Just a comment. I don't know all the details. I'm just an
Sure.
observation.
Mr. Chair, I mean, you're correct. However, remember, it's out of the last 6 months, and we have just recently worked with Transcore, and they have just recently, within the last month or so, completed the customer assistance on their side. So I would have assumed that they'd be meeting those moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Richard, this is Joe Quattrone.
Yes.
Just to add to that you're right, Member Von Paris. We did a modification that was approved. I think like in January. That became effective on March 1st, where they would now calculate their new employee turnover percentages. So that was only effective in March. So I think you'll see some improvements going forward with that. I think this is a look back prior to when that became effective. Does that make sense?
It does. The data's older than, but to see the results of the change. Okay.
Yeah, and the KPIs, as noted on the sheets, are actually as of February.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for addressing that. I appreciate that. Thanks for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. With no further questions, I'll move to continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is absolutely essential, right? I mean, we built that into the contracts. It's in the contracts. We are leveraging off the continuous improvement. Now, there's been some real work with Caption Transcore, mostly within the last year, to really emphasize the continuous improvement. And what this does is it says, okay, you have KPIs, you have to meet the KPIs per the requirement and the contract. Check. Okay. But we want you as an industry to be able to work with us to be able to continuously improve the system, continuously improve the processes, continuously improve customer service and or anything with regards to revenue. So we constantly have been pushing them to both vendors for continuous improvement. Some examples on the CAP side include driving accuracy and audit confidence, which improved our OCR, LPR performance to 99.8%. And another is proactive monitoring and faster issue resolution, strengthening of review quality and data performance. And just recently, we've been working at, and we're almost ready to go into on HopenSat, which is a double-blind manual image review, which is actually, Member Ardinger, utilizing some machine learning, ML, and AI, artificial intelligence, behind the scenes to be able to perform some of the re-reviews of some of the images to be able to increase our accuracy from 99% to 99.95% accuracy. And a lot of people say, well, it's 0.95, 0.5, that doesn't mean much. It does when you're talking about the millions of transactions in which we are processing. So there is that technology that's being utilized now. We are working with CAPS on that and have made some progress on that. And hopefully we'll have that closed out relatively soon. With regards to Transcore on the improvements, we've got the redesign of the Drive Easy MD on the website. There's the IVR, the interactive voice response, and as well as the individual QR codes, which we use on our NOTDs that auto-populates to a specific page for that customer, as opposed to before taking them to a general landing page. So that concludes the update with regards to the vendors caption Transcore. Are there any specific questions before I start to move off into out-of-state debt collection?
I don't see any hands up, so I would assume keep moving.
Very good. Very good. In light of time, I'll try and move through a little quick. The out-of-state debt collection RFP is something that operations has recently just taken back over. The purpose of the out-of-state debt collection is to establish a contract allowing multiple vendors with extensive experience in collecting out-of-state unpaid tolls and or fees to perform out-of-state debt collection for delinquent MDTA tolls and related civil penalties. The contract will also potentially for other MDTA debt tied to out-of-state registered vehicles. It includes an option to manage payment plans at MDTA's discretion. So a draft of the RFP has been drafted, has been sent over to procurement. We're advancing that RFP through the procurement process, and the goal is to have an award in place of this out-of-state debt collection by the end of calendar year 2026. There's some remaining work that needs to be done on some of this, such as identifying the completion of metrics that we spoke about earlier, some KPIs, and some additional requirements. And we're working with, again, through operations, procurement, finance, and legal, coordinating on some of that. So there's some key point bullets here that you can see that have been identified, but essentially just at a high level, it's established compliance framework aligned with the federal and state consumer protection laws. But the next steps that we have on this is to finalize this through procurement, which has been, the review and approvals. Procurement's been fabulous with working with us on this, and then to publish the RFP in accordance with the state procurement requirements. So that's a brief update with regards to the out-of-state. We do have some minimum qualifications that we'll be calling for and working with the vendor on with regards to the RFP as well. Any questions with regards to the out-of-state debt collection RFP?
Member Ardinger?
Sorry, I have one more, I do have a question. Why multiple vendors?
So it's a good question. So originally we had thought about using just one. But the purpose for utilizing two, now what we're going to start off, just full transparency, we'll start off with one that we'll award, and then immediately start to work towards a second vendor. Part of the reason for this is to, competition kind of helps us in this sense when we have two, making sure that each one is keeping the other, I guess, let's just say, honest, and also in the sense that they're competing to meet those and complete those out-of-state debt collections. So it's kind of like an incentive to get the other the two working alongside, but kind of competitive nature kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Member. Member Rosen?
Thank you. So right now, this is the out-of-state collection to be done. Is this being done by central collections right now?
I'm sorry, Member Rosen, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so right now, this is being done by the central collections unit, is that?
No, so the central collections unit handles CCU handles in-state debt collection. This will be out-of-state debt collection.
I know this will be, but we don't have it yet. Who's doing it now?
No one's doing it now.
So we're not doing it. So we're just sending notices out, but there's no follow-up to any out-of-state for any out-of-state collections?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Rosen. Bruce, do you have comments?
I'll wait till Richard's finished, and then I just wanted to make a kind of closing statement.
I'm Bruce. I'm done with the out-of-state debt collection. Did you want
Keep going to the next?
Okay, very good. So we'll move on to the reciprocity. Again, the purpose for the reciprocity agreement that we're working on now is to enter into an enforcement reciprocity agreement with Pennsylvania. We've been working with them on this for quite a few months, if not a year now. We're hoping that this agreement will result in flagging and or suspending vehicle registrations when PA residents owe tolls to Maryland and vice versa. The status is there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Currently, Pennsylvania and New York are working on a reciprocity agreement between the two of them. So they're getting very close to finishing up. They're hoping their final draft is somewhere around this month, April 2026, with target implementation of 2027. And so once PA and New York come to consensus on this reciprocity agreement, which, by the way, is not simple, right? I mean, because reciprocity is agreements between agencies, not states. So once they get that in place, because of our similarity to Pennsylvania or PTC, we're going to be able to leverage off that agreement and in parallel draft reciprocal toll enforcement which is between MDTA and PTC. Now, it's critical here because it's not just the agencies such as MDTA and PTC. It's also our the DMV and the MBA on our side from both states that have got to that are critical factors as part of this process. So we're working through that. We've been in communication not only with PTC, but their DMV and our MBA, and we're working through that process. And we're hoping that the final draft, at least our target now, is the completion to be in spring or summer of 2027. So some of the key points on this is, there's, as I said, it's between an agency, not necessarily a state. So we're hoping to be able to get this all in place, utilize and leverage off of the PTC New York agreement. And some of the steps we have next is continuing our discussions, including MBA and MVD, and hopefully coming to completion within 2027. Any questions with regards to the reciprocity?
Member Ardinger.
I apologize. I think I've had a question every time, but this is probably information you've given us before. Do we have reciprocity with any states at this point? And if so, what states? None. Okay.
Member Ardinger, we do not.
Okay. So this would be our initial would be with Pennsylvania, but I'm assuming then the goal would be to reach out to some of these other states, especially the states where we see high levels of tolls due to us.
Member Archer, that's absolutely correct. And again, that's wherein lies some of the complications, right? Because not each of the agencies are similar, and even when you look at Virginia, they've got multiple agencies. So it wouldn't be just one agreement with Virginia; it would be with each of the separate agencies. So yes, to answer your question, we would start looking elsewhere after PTC, especially those that impact us closely.
So the goal of reciprocity across the board is a long-term goal. I'm assuming, well, if you had to make an estimate right now, when do you think we'll get to the point of even Pennsylvania and reciprocity?
Between MDTA and Pennsylvania, or is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So our target is spring, summer of 2027.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I could add to that, Richard, you just have been involved in the IAG, which is the Easy Pass Consortium group up there. So I know those conversations always involve, where things stand on that. I was just with several colleagues, including colleagues from Virginia and Pennsylvania, a week and a half ago, and we talked about the updates there. We do have an opportunity, I believe, with Virginia, with the new administration there. Just since January, we've heard that there's more interest on Virginia's side, which will be very beneficial for Maryland, for MDTA. So that's got to be a priority for us during and following Pennsylvania. But there are about 12 different agencies in Virginia, and they have certain caps on some of their civil penalties that might be difficult for us to agree to, but we'll be doing whatever we can in the best interest of our financial position and fairness to Marylanders. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. So both these topics are related, so I guess it's a little bit going back to the prior point, but it's related to also the reciprocity. So we presented at our board meeting, at our prior board meeting, so we have about 730 million outstanding between tolls due and civil penalties. So but that's from fiscal 14 through 25. So as part of this, and particularly with the with these new vendors and going after data collections, is this interwoven? So going back against the oldest stuff first, or the newest, with the process try to tackle and be most efficient in going after the 730 million that's due to us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was going to chime in on the the multiple agency issues, because we have kind of that backlog in out-of-state debt for tolls and civil penalties, and a large portion of that number is the civil penalties, that $25 per transaction, and so we do need to really figure out the most effective strategy with these agencies. Some of that older debt is just not going to be easy to collect, and we probably need to focus on that fresh debt first. But that's a conversation that we need to have with those agencies when they're on board here as well, and with the other states. So yeah, and so you kind of led into what my closing was going to be, but I'm going to hold for other questions on this until that.
I'm fine.
Any other questions? Okay. I mean, I just wanted to comment. I mean, these are what Richard has presented today. These are, as we all know, very important items when we're talking about collection, the revenue streams, vendor management, customer service. It's kind of part of the core of MDTA, and I'm glad I'm glad this is being discussed, and we're looking for results. So anyway, Bruce, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thanks. I just, kind of echoing that, I want to thank you all for your questions. As you all know, you've been patient as we work to get these presentations to you and fit into your committee meeting. So thank you for your patience about that. It's something that I really wanted to get to you, in discussions late last year, and that November presentation that Finance made on our annual revenue assurance, that'll be an annual item. So that really helped break down what we experience on an annual basis for revenue and how we are benchmarking against other states like Pennsylvania. So that was the first step. This is the second. We want to continue to give you regular updates on these items. You've asked some good questions. We can do a deeper dive in future meetings to address some of those, or to hone in on some of the bigger issues. Customer service, obviously, and revenue protection, as you, Mr. Chairman, mentioned, are those two priorities. And there has been a lot of legislative focus, a lot of media focus on this lately. I know from the discussions I've had with the other agencies that it's the same for them. New York has lots of different tools in their toolbox to get at uncollected debt, and including on the road enforcement, and that might not work in Maryland, and even then is challenging for them. It's maybe not the most cost effective way sometimes for them, but there's these continuous improvement is that key word that we need to focus on. So we have our vendors kind of up and running post pandemic and operating as we'd like to see them, with continued improvement in the future coming. And then the legislative discussions, we're really trying to balance that. Member Rosen mentioned the large outstanding debt out of state, so that fairness. And then the other topic is the fairness in state for folks. We do send 5 notices out, give them an opportunity to contest in court. But we still have a lot of, issues that we're trying to resolve on the in-state side and getting people to pay attention. So that's been about, the team has been working on that for a year to get additional improvements to websites, to notices, to frequency of notices, to getting the invoices to the right amount where we can maximize the payment streams. And that takes a lot of detailed analysis, something that AI will help us on in the future in that. But right now we've got a great team between finance and operations making these improvements. So we'll be back, and just wanted to thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Bruce. I know you're making it a priority, and I know you care very much about getting this done. We're changing and going forward and getting some results that we're looking for. Thank you. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. So Richard, thank you very much for your presentation today. Very important.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Look forward to follow-up conversations.
Great. Thank you. Good luck. Okay, we will move on to the next item, and that is item 5, an update, the Key Bridge rebuild engagement efforts. And Melissa and Bradley are here to talk to us about that. So good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for having us. For the record, my name is Brad Tanner, Director of Communications and Marketing, and I'll be co-presenting today with Melissa Bogdan, our Community Relations Program Manager. We just really appreciate the opportunity, obviously, to speak with you about our communications and engagement effort for the Key Bridge rebuild. And I want to start off by talking about our team, also known as our stakeholders, on slide 2 there. This is comprised of diverse groups, of course. So we're talking about community members, commuters, business and industry partners, elected officials, and of course, the media. Each of these groups has a stake in the successful rebuild of this critical asset. Now, in the spirit of transparency, we believe that our communications and engagement efforts are a two-way street. with these stakeholders, meaning that while we continue to educate them and inform them on our various deliverables, it's important that we also listen to our stakeholders and understand what is the best method and evolve our strategies on how we give those deliverables to our audience. Now, I'll turn it over to Melissa so she can discuss our process and our progress.
Good morning. From the moment that we lost the Key Bridge, we knew the impact on surrounding communities would be tremendous. That understanding has guided everything we do. Our commitment has been to keep the public informed, involved, educated, and aware of what is happening, especially because so much of the work is happening on the water and out of public view. Transparency and timely updates are essential to building and maintaining trust. And in a project as dynamic as this one, new information emerges constantly. This isn't something we can acknowledge once and walk away from. It requires sustained engagement to respond to community feedback. Moving on to slide 3. As our work progressed, our communication strategy remained focused on being timely, transparent, and accessible. Because of the project qualified as a categorical exclusion under NEPA, it followed a different process other than major transportation projects. But we still centered community input whenever possible. Survey data has helped us understand not only immediate concerns, but as also what people envision for the future. We have implemented monitoring tools such as vibration and emission sensors to track potential impacts on nearby neighborhoods. Understanding the communities we serve shape our approach. In areas with large speaking Spanish populations, newsletters are bilingual. In communities with older residents, we rely less on digital tools and we provide printed material. Meeting people where they are became a guiding principle. Not everyone will agree with every decision, but they will know we are being open, inclusive, and intentional. Moving on to slide 4, our engagement has also extended to local youth. We participate in school visits, book drives, Read Across America events, showing students, many from working class and Spanish-speaking households, what engineers and transportation professionals do. These moments matter. When children go home talking about having met an engineer from the bridge, it strengthens the connection between our work and their daily lives. On slide 5, just kind of a representation of our deliverables. On the community relations side, we have pop-up events and speakers requests and public meetings. And Brad, do you want to jump into the communication side, the comp side of the house as well?
Absolutely. And I'll keep this as high level as possible. I know you all are very familiar with our deliverables on the communication efforts that we've done. I know Bruce and Jim have, spoken about it at board meetings, but one that I want to point out in particular are our media days. So we have successfully held 4 media days for the Key Bridge rebuild, starting in winter of 2025. We did our pre-construction media day. Then in the summer, we did our demolition media day. And then we've done 2 series of boat tours media days. First was for the test pile program. And then just a few weeks ago, on March 26th, we were showing our production pile and where we're at right now. So we think that those days are extremely successful because obviously it gives the media an opportunity to engage with our engineers, specifically Jim and his team, but also just see the work that we're doing at the construction site level. And we've noticed favorable media coverage after those days. So we continue to do that. Moving on to our social media, as you're very much aware, we are specifically on Facebook for the Key Bridge Rebuild Project. It's been very successful. We share near real-time project updates through engaging videos and photos. And obviously, because most people can't, the public can't come to media days or visit the construction yard, we give them the behind-the-scenes look and the content of what it is that we're doing. Our internal audits of our social media just kind of reinforce what we see daily, that the public is curious, they're engaged, and they're eager to learn about our progress. One social media strategy that we've been using is known as Bridging the Facts. So Bridging the Facts is a Facebook series that takes you behind the scenes on the Keybridge Rebuild project, answering common public questions and explaining key aspects of the bridge, the design, the construction, in a visual format. And most importantly, I can't stress this enough as a communications professional, using plain language. Very important that we're connecting with our community so that they actually understand what it is that we're doing. Moving on to our website, as you are aware, it launched in 2024 and we revamped in 2025. It serves as a central informational hub for our project-related updates. It's also where people can sign up for our e-blasts and text alerts, what I'll get to in a second. But what we've noticed on our website is that our frequently visited pages, other than the homepage, is our design and construction page. What that means to us, knowing that, is that we need to make sure that that content on those pages are dynamic and accurate and up to date. So we're constantly looking and using that real estate to push out other information, but making sure that that's, most up to date, of course. And we did notice in the past couple weeks a large jump, and that's probably because our media partners were going to the website to get information when they were going to cover about the 2-year mark. And then the other deliverable that I want to make note of is our newsletter, our e-blasts, and our text alerts. We launched our newsletter in the fall of 2025. And while these are digital assets, I still think that it's very important to print these assets because not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody is looking at the website. So when Melissa and her teams go out for engagement opportunities, they bring those hard copies just so that we can ensure that everyone is seeing the progress and the work that we're doing and the highlights that we're trying to highlight through those newsletters. And of course, our e-blasts, which go direct to people who sign up, and they basically get to see our social media posts from, the past couple weeks. So how are we measuring our success when it comes to this? Well, like I said, we basically audit and see what we're doing, what's working well with our engagement, our Facebook analytics, our analytics for the website, of course, and just trying to grow from that. I won't point out everything on the measures of success slide there, but I will say that we continue to grow significantly, even with text alert subscribers, that continues to grow. And just want to point out again that we know that the website is that central hub for information because clearly over the past couple weeks, we had such a large spike of that. I think that these numbers here that you're looking reflect more of late February, early March. We're starting to get more numbers about it, and we saw that increase in that growth of the website just because of March 26th. So we'll continue to keep all those up to date. I'll now turn it back to Melissa to talk more about our community engagement efforts.
Yes, if you refer to slide 11, our internship program is another way we invest in the next generation. We have partnered with institutions like Morgan State University, the University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins, and UMBC to offer students hands-on experience working with engineers and public sector leaders on this landmark project. Community goodwill is also built through simple acts of presence. We've dropped off coffee at senior centers or fire stations. We support food distribution events and partnered on a toy and pajama drive in Turner Station. Especially during these economic challenging times, showing up and being consistent has made a meaningful difference. Moving on to slide 2, we offer speakers requests. We get our local experts, Jim, Brian, Jason, Bruce, to have speaking opportunities at local HOAs, the Ship Watchers podcast, Turner Station community open houses, as well as Trade Point Atlantic Community Advisory Group, which is representative of all the communities down in the area. Moving on to slide 13, our pop-up events. Our pop-up events do kind of the same thing. On any given weekend, MDTA teams are out in the community sharing updates and answering questions. These interactions bring the newsletter to life and create opportunities for real conversations. In addition, we had shared a support survey to just discover how we could help local residents after we lost the bridge. Moving on to slide 14, we have had public meetings as well. We hosted virtual community updates in 24 and then again in 25. In addition, we have promoted MDE's environmental permitting public meetings as well, which is their meetings, but since the topic is on the bridge, we promoted that as well to give folks the opportunity to learn about the process. Finally, slide 15, we do industry and agency meetings. We held an industry forum early on in the project to get local firms information about how to be involved in the bidding and procurement process. We also coordinate with Harbor Safety Group about our Smooth Waters campaign, just keeping boaters and our crews safe on the water, as well as coordinating with the Coast Guard and Department of Natural Resources for that effort as well. Slide 16 shows a representation of where we've held these events over the past couple of years. We try to be accessible, transparent, and stay connected in Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City, looking for opportunities to go where the communities are to provide the support that they deserve. And slide 17, just a recap of our community engagement efforts. We've had over 110 pop-up events, over 60 speaking engagements. We collected 860 surveys. We've had over 6,000 connections with the communities, and our email subscriber list has grown to over 4,600. With that final note, I'll turn it over to Brad about what we're doing for the future.
Thanks, Melissa. And really just in closing, as I started, with our stakeholders, whether it's through our media partners and communications or with the community, it's truly a two-way street. So what we're doing this spring is we'll be conducting focus groups to ensure that our communication approach resonates with our audiences. And really this is important because what we're trying to do is test, clarity of our messages, tone of our messages, the formats. But important to me too is frequency. So how often are we giving them the information? Is it oversaturation, right? Like where are we in terms of the information that we're putting out? I'm sure all of you in your personal lives experience, whether it's marketing efforts and there's that unsubscribe button. We don't want people unsubscribing. So we don't want to give them, get them to that point. So what do they like? What do they want to see in terms of the tone in our communications? Just quickly how that will work. We'll have 10 focus groups, 8 in English, 2 in Spanish. Each group will have about 8 to 10 participants. These participants are recruited from Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. And we are currently in our recruitment process, although I think that's wrapping up and we'll probably be starting in the coming weeks for our focus groups. And that is it for our presentation. We'll take any questions.
Thank you. Just looking at the screen here to see if there are any questions. I don't see any. I do have a comment or two. Real quick, the transparency is so important to this, and people engaging them, communicating with them, as Melissa said, meet them where they need to be met in terms of the communication. Multilingual, also the seniors, so important, and even with seniors to maybe try to get some, I know you're going to print with seniors or digital, but the other side is, the digital side would be with their adult children, because sometimes they have a support mechanism that they can help explain things too. And then, is there anything, I noticed the circles that you have here, but, and I can follow up with you on that, but how far down are we going on the shore with communication? I guess eventually, right now you're looking at around the area, but there are a lot of people that go across that bridge that are down the road and on the eastern shore, and certainly I think you're probably engaging the business community that will eventually be impacted by this project. And then also transportation. And I think you've already mentioned the past reports that you've engaged a lot of these folks, and including first responders. So I'm really impressed with what you've done here. Speaking for myself here, but I'm sure that it's going to, what you're doing is good work, and we're being proactive, and I commend you for doing that.
Thank you, Member Ron Paris. We also have a targeted effort for our trucking community as well, and our different port opportunities. And we also do some small business spotlights to try to help the folks that have been, isolated from the disconnect right now. So just trying to do different things to bring resources in the meantime.
Well, that's great. And we thank you for the very thorough report, both of you. We have, let's see, anybody else have any questions here? Let's see, I'm looking. Jim, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to follow up and take the opportunity to really just give a shout out to Brad and his team, and Melissa and her team on just the excellent job that they've done, and you've seen it highlighted here in front of you. Hopefully you've seen it yourself on social, and just some of the strategies and the materials that have been produced for this project. It's really just been great work. I mean, the team has worked hard to produce and communicate and reach out and make sure we're making connections with everyone that needs that information, and just giving them probably more information than they need. But that was kind of where we were erring on the side of just oversaturating them with information about the great work that the teams have been doing on the bridge, and all of this while still doing messaging and communicating on all the normal kind of things, including other major projects at other parts of MDTA. So the team has done an excellent job, and I just really wanted to take the chance to say how much I appreciate them, and how much I think the great work that they've done on this. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm sure that your comments are very much appreciated. And member Ardinger, did you have a comment? No? Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, then we'll move on. Thank you very much again. Okay. We have now reached the closed session portion of our agenda. This closed session is scheduled for the Finance and Administration Committee members and designated staff. For those persons who are in this meeting or on the live stream, as soon as we have completed the closed session, we will come back to this meeting to ratify any actions that might be taken in closed session, and to continue with the remainder of the agenda in open session. And we appreciate your patience. Per the Maryland Open Meetings Act, the MDTA Finance and Administration Committee will meet in closed session under the General Provisions Article Section 3-305B14 before a contract is awarded or bids are opened, discuss a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy, or the contents of a bid or proposal. If public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process. Members, is there a motion to go into closed session? Is there a motion? Seeking a motion?
Member Ardinger also move.
Okay, thank you.
Second, Member Carroll.
Thank you, Member Carroll. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The time is 10:28 a.m. And we will now go into closed session. for Member Carroll. There's Dante.
Sorry about that.
We'll just wait for a couple other. Bruce, are you on? No? Just want to make sure we get everybody back on who needs. Natalie?
Chairman
you're there?
Paris.
Yes.
I'm not sure Bruce is going to make it back on. He had another meeting, and since we're just going to be closing the meeting, he may not make it back on this call.
Very good. So we will go ahead then. We will, okay, so it's time now. Good morning, it's time now. It is 11:18 a.m. and the committee has completed its closed session. There were no actions taken in closed session that require ratification. At this time, the agenda is complete. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Member Carroll.
Okay, we have a second.
Second, Member Rosen.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion is adjourned. The motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very